Ross Greenwood with me now, and among other things the Prime Minister talked about today, he admitted that the lockdowns in New South Wales, Victoria and South Australia will hurt the nation's economy, likely push more people out of work. It's pretty clear where it's been heading. It's not looking good, Ross.
No, it's a pretty blunt assessment of Australia and what these lockdowns do to the economy. Of course, the expectation is it's many billions of dollars that lockdowns across Victoria, New South Wales and South Australia will have that impact. But the Prime Minister tried to lay it out today and really not gloss over the fact that it does have an impact. Let's go to the Prime Minister.
The supply chain disruption, the impacts on confidence, the fall in job ads, which is to be expected in these circumstances, we anticipate will have an impact on obviously the September quarter GDP and will have a near-term impact on employment. It is impossible to avoid it when you've got lockdowns running at the rate we're seeing across 3 states right now.
So it's clearly going to trim the economic growth of Australia. It's going to increase the unemployment rate in Australia. There are going to be more people out of work and requiring those job subsidies that state and federal governments are offering. The other interesting thing is it had an impact on the markets, Kieran. So I've never seen this, and that is that the 2-year government bond rate this afternoon. So in other words, you put your money in government bonds right now, they will give you an interest rate of 0.04%. Consider that 0.04%. 10-year bonds, which were 1.7% this afternoon, they're 1.17%. So they've come down nearly 0.5% in just the last 2 or 3 weeks with these lockdowns. Stock market, well, it took off, and the reason for it was mainly because if you got cheap money, cheap interest rates, government money out over around the place, then the stock market generally does better. It did today as well. So let's pick up another grab. Go on, I was going to say, the other thing I was going to say, I've got one more grab to play for you from Scott Morrison today where he talks about it being a heavy blow. Have a listen to this one.
The economic impact of this, of course, will be a heavy blow. But it's not a blow we can't recover from. And how do I know that? Because last year when we faced the same heavy blow, we turned it around and got 1 million people back into work.
The Prime Minister there at the Lodge earlier in the day, and Ross, a consortium of business groups came together today. They're calling on the government to reintroduce flexibility arrangements around industrial relations when it comes to these lockdowns that we're seeing in many parts of the country right now.
Yeah, so there's about 10 of them have come together, so including the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Australian Industry Group, the retailers, the caterers, a whole range of them have come together. And effectively, they've also had meetings with the ACTU, so the unions have been involved in some of these conversations, effectively to say that the government needs to bring in the flexibility around industrial relations that it had during the lockdowns last year. Now, there's some key points that they're asking for as a result of this. So this is where the flexibility lies. So what they're basically saying is that they're calling for the ability to reduce workers' hours. So in other words, if there's no work, they can reduce your hours, to partially stand down workers, to have workers perform different duties. In other words, that they're not suddenly finding themselves really having to, say we weren't employed to do that, we're not going to do that. And also to enforce annual leave. You can see that there. The other thing they've also said today is that they need these flexibilities to ensure businesses have the necessary tools to keep as many employees in jobs as possible. The government hasn't yet answered those requests, but you'd imagine they'll do so pretty quickly, Kieran.
Ross Greenwood, thanks. Talk to you soon.